Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to read an article entitled The United States Coast Guard or USCG. So the United States Coast Guard is the maritime security, search and rescue, and law enforcement service branch of the United States Armed Forces and one of the country's 8 uninformed services. The service is a maritime military multi-mission service unique among the United States military branches for having a maritime law enforcement missions with jurisdiction in both domestic and international waters and a federal regulatory agency mission as part of its duties. It is the largest and most powerful coast guard in the world, rivaling the capabilities and size of most navies. The U.S. Coast Guard is a humanitarian and security service. It protects the United States borders and economic and security interests abroad, and defends its sovereignty by safeguarding sea lines of communications and commerce across vast territorial waters spanning 95,000 miles of coastline and its exclusive economic zone, with national and economic security depending upon open global trade and a rules-based international order, and with even ever-expanding risks imposed by transnational threats through the maritime and cyber domains. The U.S. Coast Guard is at any given time deployed to and operating on all 7 continents and its cyberspace to save lines, enforce laws, ensure safe and secure commerce, and protect the environment. Like its the United States Navy sibling, the U.S. Coast Guard maintains a global presence with permanently assigned personnel through the world and force routinely deploying to both littoral and blue water regions. The rise of great power competition and adversarial challenge to rules-based international order through interstate aggressions, economic coercions, and maritime hybrid warfare and cultivated numerous conflict hotspots around the world. The U.S. Coast Guard adaptive multi-vision Whitehall fleet is leveraged as a force of both diplomatic soft power and humanitarian and security assistance over the more overtly confrontational nature of Greyhound warship. As a humanitarian service, it saves tens of thousands of lives a year at sea and in U.S. waters, and provides emergency response and disaster management for a wide range of man-made and natural catastrophic incidents in the U.S. and through the world. The U.S. Coast Guard operates under the U.S. Department of Homeland Security during peacetime. During times of war, it can be transferred in whole or in part of the U.S. Department of the Navy under the Department of Defense by order of the U.S. President or by act of Congress. Prior to its transfer to Homeland Security, it operated under the Department of Transportation from 1987 to 2003 and the Department of the Treasury from its inception until 1967. A congressional authority transfer for the Navy has only happened once, in 1917 during World War. By the time the U.S. entered World War II in December 1941, the U.S. Coast Guard had already been transferred to the Navy by President Franklin Roosevelt. Created by Congress at the Revenue Marine on 4 August 1790, at the request of Alexander Hamilton, it is the older continuously operating naval service of the United States. As Secretary of the Treasury, Hamilton headed the Revenue Marine, whose original purpose was collecting customs, that is, the U.S. seaports. By the 1890s, 1860s, the service was known as the U.S. Revenue Cutter Service, and the term revenue marine gradually fell into disuse. The modern U.S. Coast Guard was formed by a merger of the U.S. Revenue Cutter Service and the U.S. Life Saving Service on 28 January 1915 under the U.S. Department of the Treasury. In 1939, the U.S. Lighthouse Service was also merged into the U.S. Coast Guard. As one of the country's six armed services, the U.S. Coast Guard has deployed to support and fight every major U.S. war since 1790, from the Quasi-War with France to global war on terrorism. As December 2021, the U.S. Coast Guard authorized force strength 45,500 active duty personnel and 7,000 reservists. The service force strength also includes 8,577 full-time civilian federal employees and 31,000 uniformed volunteers of the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. The service maintained an extensive fleet of roughly 250 coastal and ocean-going cutters, patrol ships, buoy tender, tugs, and icebreaker, as well as nearly 2,000 small boats and special craft. It also maintained an aviation division consisting of more than 200 helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft. While the U.S. Coast Guard is the second smallest of the U.S. military service branches in terms of membership, the service by itself is the world's 12th largest naval force. So, the Coast Guard carries out three basic roles, which are further subdivided into 11 statutory missions. The three roles are maritime safety, maritime security, and maritime stewardship. With the decentralized organization and much responsibility placed on even the most junior personnel, the Coast Guard is frequently lauded for its quick responsive and adaptability in broad range of emergencies. In a 2005 article in Time magazine following Hurricane Katrina, the author wrote, "The Coast Guard's most valuable contribution to military effort when catastrophe hits may be as a model of flexibility and most of all spirit." Will Miriam, a rescue swimmer from Alaska, told the magazine. In the Navy, it was all about the missions, practicing for war, training for war. In the Coast Guard, it was take care of our people and the mission will take care of itself. So that's all the article. Bye bye and see you on my next video.